So creative agencies don't struggle with intentionally difficult clients. They struggle because the agency has lost control of the relationship. So things like too many stakeholders are chiming in, feedback becoming messy, unclear, even contradictory, approvals dragging on for weeks, the client changing directions mid-project, and suddenly your team is reacting to the client rather than leading them. But here's the truth. Clients only become difficult because the agency stopped leading them. So in this video, I'll show you how to take back control, even with the most complex or high maintenance clients, using simple boundaries, approval systems, and leadership principles that make your projects run smoother and your team far less stressed. Let's go ahead and get into it. So why do clients become difficult? So it's not a personality thing. It's actually more about structure. So client becomes difficult when they don't have clarity, they don't have leadership, they don't have boundaries, they don't have a process, they don't have a single source of truth, and they don't have a clarity as to who the decision maker is. So without structure, they fill the gaps. So here's the thing, is that when someone feels out of control, it ends up creating for a micromanaging oriented scenario. So you have lots of different personality types. Obviously, some people are more prone to micromanagement than others, but ultimately it's an anxiety response. It's a feeling out of being out of control. So they try to control so that it gets back into a place where they feel comfortable, where they feel safe. And the reality is that your clients have no business micromanaging something that they ultimately end up knowing nothing about. And so their reality of what this ends up doing is this creates chaos because they are trying to control something that they don't actually know how to control. So if you're able to mitigate the anxiety, mitigate them being scared or frustrated, the feeling of being out of control, making them feel more safe, the less that they are going to be that micromanaging oriented client, becoming less high maintenance, becoming less of a problem. Not saying that there's levels, obviously, across the board, but it is an anxiety response. So as you start to identify that, you can start to manage a bit of that anxiety. So let's talk about the four kind of predictable chaos patterns, if you will. First one is multiple stakeholders. So there's too many opinions, contradictory ones, and then ultimately end up creating for no direction. You've got the vague or emotional feedback. So if something feels off, or I'm not sure about this, or I don't like this, or my spouse likes purple, like that sort of feedback, where you have the approval drift where it just like kind of goes on forever, often because they don't know if they should approve it and they're worried again and scared. Nobody ends up knowing who decides ultimately which direction to go. Or you have priority whiplash. So the client is changing direction mid-project, resets everything, not sure of which direction to go. And these are all, frankly, every single one of these are symptoms of lost leadership. And we'll talk about how and why in each one as we get into the control framework. So let's hit each one of them to begin with and the core component of how you want to think about it. Then we can talk about this step by step. Let's talk about the client control framework. It's a multi-part structure, but let's jump into each one. So first piece is we want to clarify the roles up front. So who is the approver, who is going to contribute to feedback, who ultimately is the decider, and ultimately who just doesn't need to be providing feedback. Some people should be involved in it, some people are not, some people are close enough to the work and some isn't, but you do need to have a decision-making owner model of how it is that you engage with the client, making sure that they are clear of who the decider is and who ultimately is that final decider. And yeah, they may consult others and that's perfectly fine, but framework to do so, how exactly is that done? Is it all shared in one place? Exactly how that goes. Then leads me to the next one of how do we actually standardize feedback and approvals? So I want to do a couple of things. You want to make sure that they understand how it is that they're providing feedback and what kind of stage of the project. So depending on where you are in a project, the way that they are looking at, let's say that they're giving feedback on a wireframe for a website, they may be talking about like design elements and stuff because they don't understand what exactly you're looking for. So what's working, what's not working, and what is the outcome of what they're like looking to be able to accomplish out of this specific phase of the project, what you need out of them in order to be able to move. Or even when it comes to final, higher fidelity oriented work, it's like, how do the lines feel here? Are they too masculine? Are they too feminine? Does this feel like it's going to hit the specific component to your ICP? And how do you think that they're going to react to it? So what's working, what's not working? And you want to provide kind of templated kind of direction that allows for them to consolidate their feedback in a meaningful way. So are they doing it directly in the Figma file? Are they doing it on frame.io? Are they doing it in an Excel file that has all the revision pieces? Like how exactly are they going about providing feedback and utilizing a system to do so? You do need to make sure that you're presenting design correctly here. A lot of feedback goes off the rails because we did not lead the creative presentation or strategy well. The reality is that you made lots of little micro decisions throughout the course of the project based on information that you have available to you, research that was already done, past experience of a specific thing that allowed for you to get to where you are in the direction that you went with the creative or with the strategy. And the client doesn't know that. And so you need to walk them through multiple different pieces. There's another video that specifically specifically relates to presenting design and strategy. But the reality that I want you to be thinking about is, what exactly is the objective of this project? Who exactly is this for? What information did we use or leverage for this? Where did we start with it? What did we discount, remove, or add throughout the course of the actual creative process, allowing for them to understand all the different nuances of what we've already considered? Because one of the things that they may give as feedback is something that you've already determined didn't work for X, Y, and Z reason, and make sure that they understand that, the rationale behind the design. And then number 3, establish boundaries and process rules. So things like, feedback all happens in one place. There's no scope changes without an approval internally. So there's no, midstream creative resets in being able to actually go in a direction. Approvals are required within a specific number of days. And then here's where all information is going to live. So you need to lead the project. Remember that you are the expert here, and they're supposed to follow your process, your systems. If they are trying to control your systems or process, again, remember that is an anxiety response. And so we need to manage the anxiety of the client. There's a couple of things that makes things easier here. So consolidated feedback forms, a system where feedback is directly listed in there, version control around each different asset file that you currently have, approval deadlines, and even potentially reminders of, here, these approval deadlines. It's due tomorrow, it's due today, it was due yesterday, it's due a week from now. Here's the templates that we use to remind clients of when they're supposed to be providing approvals and feedback. Stakeholder on the client side alignment calls to allow for everyone to be on the same page of where exactly we were taking things. Remember that clients have a lot of things going on every single day. They're not in the depths of the project the same way that you are. They may forget nuances of things that have been discussed. And so getting everybody on the same page is particularly useful. Recorded walkthroughs instead of, just the raw deliverables. So here's how you are going to make this slight edit on the site. Here's how you're going to update the image here. That allows for them to have a utility of all of these pieces. FAQ documents, especially with website delivery, of how they're going to maintain the site, is particularly useful. Project maps that show kind of where we are in the process. So they understand, here's where we are now, here's where we're headed next, here's the context that we need. That allows for them to understand how to go about doing things better. Clients behave better when they have a system, a framework by which to work within, and a system that leads them. They are here because you are the expert, and it's important that you give them the framework by which they need to operate. And if you're not doing that, that is our fault, and we need to solve for it. Now, let's say that we're in a messy position with a client relationship right now. How do we reset things that are already off the rails? I would recommend getting on a call with the client, so holding a reset call, represent the scope and process and systems, make sure that we have alignment around decision maker, how it's actually causing problems to them. You need to put it all in context of the thing that helps them and why it's useful for them, not just why it's useful for you. Reestablish expectations, simplify communication, set new boundaries politely but firmly, and making sure that you're doing so in a way that is useful. I personally like to take blame for not having done this myself at the beginning of the relationship or throughout the actual project, reaffirming these things, and that's my fault. And so now I'm just going to share them with you, and this is how we're going to work going forward, and here's how it helps you have a better outcome. Clients generally respect what you walk them through, and they want to be respectful of you and your boundaries. Most people do not want to overstep boundaries. They want to be respectful, and just make sure that you're doing so in a respectful way of them, and ultimately they will respect you back most often. Know that clients appreciate leadership, and it makes client relationships a lot easier. So when you lead strongly and with conviction, clients are going to trust you. It ends up reducing noise in their own head and ultimately for you. They end up following the process. Approvals end up being faster because they feel more comfortable. Projects end up stabilizing. Your team stops feeling overwhelmed, profitability increases, and your relationships improve, which allows for more upsell and allows for more revenue. Leadership removes a lot of the client chaos and makes things a whole lot simpler and easier for you and your agency. So taking back control of difficult clients doesn't make projects just smoother, it also protects your margins, your timelines, and your team's energy. But difficult clients are only one of the hidden drains inside most agencies. The next step is to fix the unseen, untracked tasks that quietly destroy your agency's profit. So now watch my next video where I break down the hidden tasks that kill margins and the systems that we suggest to eliminate them quickly. I'll see you there.